Hey everybody, Pop-Up Sunday. It's John Hope Bryant. It's my man Webster. No, I'm not driving. Webster's driving. You see, there's the steering wheel. It's not me. Webster is a small business owner here in Atlanta and a good brother, one of my friends, in spite of the fact that he's a pain in the gazanga bean sometimes. Just kidding. So John Hope Bryant, Chairman, CEO, and founder of Operation Hope, America's first nonprofit financial services network for the poor, the struggling class, the teetering class, folks with too much month at the end of their money. OperationHope.org. Check it out. Also CEO Bryant Group Ventures. So between Bryant Group Ventures and Operation Hope, 35 companies that I nurture and organizations around here and around the world. And we've invested $2 billion, invested in inner city and underserved neighborhoods to help people help themselves. 30,000 volunteers, 2.5 million clients, opening 3 offices a week, coming to a community near you. This is the civil rights movement, unbought and unbossed and unbiased, coming to you for your love. Hey, Najee Ali, love you, man. It's my brother from LA. Just came back from South by Southwest, where I spoke yesterday, and I wanted to hit you with the 5 outlier thoughts for the future, particularly related to tech and you and your career and our world, and give you both a warning and an opportunity for you to sort of supersize your life. Really, it was the first time I spoke where I sort of teased up the concept of my new book, the memo, which is coming out in September. Hey, Kim Tynes. Hey, Derek. Hey, Brandon Love. See you signing on. Hey, Michael Johnson signing on. Professor of Credit. That's hilarious. Let me see. Progress. Linda Joe Belford. James. Hello. Giving you some love. Let me know where you are in the world so we know and can give some love to your part of the world. Hey, Collier Senior, Spencer. Hey, Yolanda, that is a bad sister there. She says hello, Webster. Yolanda is a civil rights soldier. Denise Nolan Cox. Okay, let's get into this. So here are the 5 big ideas from South by Southwest. And I was on a panel with Professor Rodney Sampson. Check that brother out. Google his name. A good brother. A tech hub, tech labs, opportunity hub. He's got so much stuff going on. Just announced the YesWeCode fund, $100 million fund to help us get scholarships to get into tech. So that you can get cost-free education to become a tech pioneer and get these jobs. And we raised $100,000 in our session yesterday on that. It was me and Van Jones, love that brother, and Rodney Sampson and others. So check that out, look him up. Now, I said in my session 5 big ideas that we need to focus on. Australia, Arkansas, Henry Ford, Bill Gates, JP Morgan. Break this down. Australia just reported that 40% of all jobs in the next 30 years, I believe it is between 20 and 30 years, 40% of all jobs going away. You heard that? I'm gonna repeat it. If you weren't concerned about your future, you didn't think you need to focus on your future. We're talking about systemic transformational change right now in society, right now. Everything's changing. I keep saying that history never feels historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. We're sitting right now in a moment in history, and you need to treat your life with the seriousness that it deserves right now. 40% of all jobs in the next 20 to 30 years are going to be decimated. Don't let that fear, don't let that shock you or lock you into fear, because there's another opportunity to create a new generation of jobs. But let me tell you, be straight now. If you know the person who walked up to when you walked up to the fast food counter and the person was rude to you, you don't have to worry about that person being rude to you anymore. That job's going away. Anybody who can't handle customer service, that little counter at the, let's say, Burger King, that's going away. That's going to be replaced by a robot, by automation, by a computer, by more efficiency. So that job that paid $5, $8, $10, $12 an hour, that job's going away. Now you're going to push a button, you're going to say what your options are, you want lettuce, tomato, whatever, and there'll be somebody in the back preparing that for you, but those frontline jobs, I guarantee you, are going away. So anybody you know with the only jobs going to remain in that position are those who got excellent customer service. So there's a whole group of jobs that are going away. I'm going to give you a little factoid. So all this hoopla talked about the, all the employment that happened in the last few years in America. Do you know that 85% of those jobs that were created were retail jobs? Did you know that, Webster?
No.
80% of those jobs that were bragged about were really retail jobs. So you need 2 of those just to make a living, right? So before I scare you to death, let me give you the other side of this deal. So you have a daughter, a nephew, a niece. If it's you, I need you to go back to school, get yourself an education, an edumacation, a techcation, a skillscation. I don't care what it is. Go get you some kind of cation. We need to get you some kind of cation. Get yourself a drive-cation. You need to get yourself a marketable skill right now, or as my mother would say, right now. Okay, and because here's the next piece. So I mentioned Australia, Arkansas. So there's a firm out of Arkansas that got a grant from the Department of the Interior, I believe, to do something magical and magnificent. And they were laughed about. They were laughed at. They said that the future of all highways were solar highways, and they're absolutely right. So all this that you see out here, these poles, well, I don't see them right now, but you'll see soon as we're driving down the street. You'll see light poles, or just think about where you are. Light poles with wood or metal, and then you got light poles connected to cabling, right? That's prehistoric. All that's going away. All that cabling is going underground. In the next 10 years, that cabling, well, it may take 20 years. All that cabling globally is going underground. It's going to connect to a grid. The grid, I believe, will be solar highways. You got all these asphalt highways that are generating CO2 levels, heat levels, which is causing the environment to heat up. That's tying into all the environmental issues like global warming people talking about, and we need to do something to save our planet. And I think this is a way to save our planet and make some money at the same time. Every highway in the world will be repaved with solar highways. Those highways will be a grid. All the neon lights you see on the street will go underground. All the cabling will go underground. Your house will plug into the highway with an electrical grid. That's how you're gonna get power. So your house will go solar. Your house will be powered technology-wise by this grid. Those places that are sunny in the world will collect energy from these solar panels, and then those who are cold, the places that are hot will sell that energy to places that are cold. So Africa, as an example, and the Middle East will become energy collectors, and will be able to sell that to places in the world that are cold. So the poor people will actually help the rich people live a quality life, and the poor will become rich by selling that natural energy. And this is the sun, so you don't. This is God's energy. So we're not destroying our planet. We're actually restoring it. But that little idea came from a little farmer, basically, in I believe it was Arkansas. It was somewhere in the Midwest. Just an idea that everybody laughed at, that now is getting a lot of traction. Go to the internet, type in solar highways. You'll see a video on YouTube. It's got like 20 million views. Watch that video. I may put it in my stream here in the comments. Watch that video, and I think that will create a bunch of jobs around the world for people with a basic skill. It's basically the Industrial Revolution all over again, because now a person with an average skill can help to repave highways around the world and earn a living wage. That's Arkansas. Now let me talk about Henry Ford and Bill Gates and J.P. Morgan very quickly. Henry Ford created the automobile in the early 1900s, but the automobile is now not an automobile, it's a computer. You see what's going on here on this dashboard? That's certainly a computer there, but it's a cyborg, all right? But this car is a computer, and your car you're driving is increasingly technology. If you want to have a skill in the future, you have to understand that things are moving to technology, and we're going to have self-driving cars in 10 years. And so all that's moving to technology, away from pure mechanical and engineering and machinery. And so Henry Ford III and I are working with a new motorsports academy powered by Ford that gets launched next month in my annual meeting, that will ignite and excite kids about the magic of motorsports. But it's not just about motorsports. If you're a race car driver, you can't be dumb. You got to be courageous. That means you're talking about leaders we're creating. If you are a mechanic, well, there are roles for mechanics. They're making 5-6 figures that careers we don't know about. There are engineering careers and computing careers and technology careers. I mean, basically a race car track is a physics lesson. It's a math equation, and all those are jobs. I don't know if you know, in F1 racing, there's a brother, Lewis Hamilton, who is a top driver in the world, who races for Mercedes. That Mercedes team has 2 drivers. 2 cars. The budget, $500 million. The annual budget for the Mercedes F1 team with only 2 drivers is $500 million a year. They've got 300 employees supporting these 2 drivers and his brother, who's changing all of motorsports. But see, that is feeding technology and patents, and all that technology is flowing back into the cars that you and I drive every day. And that's one of the reasons why these manufacturers spend so much money on motorsports. There's careers there, and we're missing out. So the new Henry Ford III, my brother, my friend, is going to reimagine what his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather Henry Ford did with the automotive industry by giving a new group of young people, diverse young people who are black, brown, and different, an opportunity at a shot at the American dream as automotive industry changes the game completely. Now let's go to Bill Gates. I love Barack Obama. I think he's a great man. He was a great president, very dignified. I would focus more on jobs than he did, but he was a great man. But if we had, and this is no disrespect to President Barack Obama, if we had a black Bill Gates, it would have been 100 times more powerful than a black president. Because a black Bill Gates would have created, as a multi-billionaire, would have created billionaires underneath him, a ton of, probably, I don't know, 300 multi-millionaires underneath him or her. That would have then really come down to communities, because now you're a philanthropist. Let's chill here for a minute, my connection. Now you're a philanthropist, and where are you going to take your philanthropy? You're going to take your philanthropy where you grew up, in the hood, in the rural areas, the urban areas, the places where you know they're suffering. You're going to now point your philanthropy, hundreds of millions of dollars, your foundation, back in your neighborhood. Do you know how powerful it would be if you now have 300 basically multi-millionaires who are not just successful in business, who are now taking their philanthropy and helping to do mentorship, helping to start charter schools, helping to fund public schools, helping to create nonprofits and beautification projects, and creating jobs and community and investing back in their local community. Boom! Because to quote Van Jones, the best way to stop a bullet is a job. So if we had a Bill Gates, it would have been so much more. And think about the role modeling that would create it. Think about the image it's not about just being Oprah Winfrey, an entertainer, great woman, brilliant, gave me an award, love her to death. Not just about being a Magic Johnson, an athlete. Not about just being a T.I., an entertainer. Not just about being a Magic Johnson. I think I've already mentioned his name, but give me some other names that we admire. What are some names that are admired in the minority community, Webster? That's you.
They said T.I., right?
Yeah, T.I.
Yeah.
This is a dang shame we can't think of these names. LeBron James. But I mean, these are all athletes and entertainers and celebrities. What about saying, hey, the kids saying, hey, mommy, that's an entrepreneur over there. I want to be just like him. Boom, right? You model what you see. So if all we see in neighborhoods that we care about as symbols of success are rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers, as an example, then why isn't anybody surprised that kids grow up wanting to be a rap star, an athlete, or a drug dealer? And if all you see as aspirational legal symbols of success are entertainers and sports figures, but not business leaders, then we understand that and we appreciate that. But those are folks who cash checks, don't write checks. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not business creators. They're not the guy or woman that owns the Atlanta Hawks. They play for the Atlanta Hawks, and that's fundamentally different. So we need a black Bill Gates. And I want to finance the black Bill Gates, but I'm getting ahead of myself. J.P. Morgan. You may not know that name. Google it. J.P. Morgan Chase. Well, J.P. Morgan backed a guy named Edison. You know Edison as in Thomas Edison. But there was a guy who was actually smarter or more successful than Thomas Edison, and his name was Tesla. Tesla actually was a mentee, was tutored by Thomas Edison. In fact, Edison created DC energy, and Tesla created AC power. Well, what runs your house is AC power. What runs the world? AC power. But Edison was more successful because his sponsor said, J.P. Morgan said, I want you to light up New York. The whole city, the whole country was using basically kerosene lanterns. And one false move with a kerosene lantern, and your whole block goes up in flames. So we had to find a safer, more resilient form of energy, and we did that through the innovation of Edison with electric energy. electric power, and he got backed by J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan said, look, I want you to light up Manhattan. Manhattan was the first city ever to have electrical power in this country. Light up Manhattan, but you got to light my house up first. I want my friends to come by and see this magnificent activity, and I'll back you. So because Edison had great backing, somebody who got that Edison had this beautiful thing, and great marketing, the world knows Edison, but the world doesn't know Tesla. I mean, we think Tesla is a car today, okay? but that car was inspired by some of the patents of Tesla, but that car actually has nothing to do with Tesla, nothing to do with his family. It was created by, I think, Elon Musk, the entrepreneur, right? But he was just inspired by the story of Tesla. Do your research. Tesla was a student of Edison, in many ways more brilliant. Edison rejected him. I don't know whether he was threatened by him or whatever, but he just thought he couldn't be as smart as he was, and he pushed him out, and Tesla went and got his own sponsor, but that sponsor wasn't as supportive as J.P. Morgan. Well, J.P. Morgan was a banker, and J.P. Morgan created J.P. Morgan Chase, which is one of the largest banks in the world today. So we need to make smart sexy, folks. We need to understand banking and free enterprise and where money comes from and how some people become successful. And I'm gonna give you I'm gonna do a whole video on this. Half of all success is marketing, folks. Half of all success in the world is marketing. You know, we give the Wright brothers credit for the first flight, but at South by Southwest where I spoke, Dr. Sampson and Van Jones hit me up that there was actually Van Jones. There was a brother who flew a flight before the Wright brothers, but he didn't have the money, he didn't have the backing, he didn't have the marketing, and so the Wright brothers got the credit. This didn't to be that it was racism or whatever. It's just that we weren't sophisticated enough to understand that it wasn't good enough just to be smart enough. Let me tell you something. There are idiots and fools running countries and companies right now, and there are brilliant people who are homeless. I'm gonna repeat that. There are idiots and fools running countries and companies right now, and brilliant people who are homeless, precisely because being smart is important, but it is not enough. No different than love alone in a relationship is not enough. You've got to work, you've got to hustle, you've got to have a strategy. Steve Jobs, brilliant man. Who's Steve Jobs? You'll say the founder of Apple. Wrong! He's the co-founder of Apple. Who's the other co-founder of Apple? Wozniak. Wozniak was a technician, the engineer. Steve was an okay engineer. Wozniak was a genius, is a genius, still alive to this day. He's a co-founder because Wozniak was a horrible marketer of himself, and Steve Jobs was a brilliant marketer. Steve Jobs is now viewed as the founder, the sole founder of Apple. If you want me to, I'm going to do a whole piece on the power of marketing, because most of the leaders you admire were great marketers and not just great social leaders. Dr. King was also a great marketer, but I won't get into that. I'll do it as a separate video. So these are the 5 things I wanted you to remember from South by Southwest and the the Coding While Black session they did there, and we had a bunch of HBCU students that came from black college universities, plus some Latino college universities, plus some mainstream that were there with us. And we announced again this YesWeCode fund. I mean, Dr. Sampson did. I want you to support what he's doing here in Atlanta. We need not just one Dr. King today. We need like 10 of them. One in healthcare, right? One in criminal justice. You know, one in finance. One in inner city economic development. One in tech. You know, you got all the society is complicated today, people. International business. You need a Dr. King or Dr. Dorothy Height in all of these sectors so we can perfect our game and upgrade our software. So these 5 things flow together. I want to be the J.P. Morgan Chase of this age, so I can finance the Bill Gates of this age, so that I can then identify and back the kids that are coming through the Henry Fords of this age, and the Brian Group Motorsports Academy, inspired by Henry Ford III and I, to take that talent and then put that into a career, so that we can organize and train a whole generation of workers for the Arkansas experiment I mentioned of solar highways, so that we can replace the 40% of jobs that are going away, poof, like start working at a counter clerk somewhere, in some dead-end position that you know is not going anywhere, and you know it's just a matter of time before you are outsourced or that job is eliminated, you got to reset your life. You got to dream big dreams. One of the problems, this video is for everybody, but one of the problems with Black America, this video is for everybody. My work is global. I'm a global citizen, and I love everybody, right? But one of the problems with Black people, who I love so much, is that we are risk averse. See, I'm looking at Webster. He's trying not to say anything. We are risk averse. We don't take risks. Or we take the wrong risks. We take the risk with our body, with our mind, with our soul, with our lives, but we don't take risks like starting a business or wanting to go own a home or making investments in the stock market. We don't take those risks, and thus we live traditional financial lives, conservative business lives, and as a result of that, to quote Malcolm X, we've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, we've been fooled in believing that we are not successful or somehow we can't play this game. That is simply not true. As I said at South by Southwest, got to stop. I got these big lips. Got to wet them so I can get this out. I've said at South by Southwest with the HBCU initiative that we did there, my number one asset is that I am crazy. I'm absolutely out of my mind. And I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what anybody else thinks about me. I don't care what anybody thinks about my dreams. I'm going to pursue my dreams, full stop. I'm going to dream big dreams and aim high. And if I fall, I'm going to fall forward. And because I'm not afraid of failure, and because I am crazy enough to believe I can change the world, I may not hit the star, but I may not land on the moon, but I'm going to hit a star on the way down, which means that I ended up much better than where I started. Look, if you're going to fail, folks, at least fail in a big way. Don't fail on some small stuff. Don't start having little arguments. In fact, don't even start having arguments. I want you to take your life back, and I want you to dream big dreams. When I go to see SunTrust CEO, I say I'm going to be your next Coca-Cola. Because SunTrust founded Coca-Cola, financed Coca-Cola. When I go to JP Morgan Chase, I say I'm going to be your next Edison. You see, that's just... It just sort of takes you to a whole nother level, because the Bible says where there's no vision, the people perish. I love you much. I love you a lot. I love you enough to talk to you straight and to come at you straight and no chaser with this new civil rights movement in the suites and not the streets. And I'm encouraging you to take your civil rights back right now and understand we're sitting in a moment in history. And understand that everything's going to change in the next 5 or 2 years. Everything's going to change, and I want you to be on the bleeding edge of, or the cutting edge of life, not the bleeding edge of life. Let me take a couple comments here, and then I'm gonna let my man Webster go take care of some paying clients. You know, I pay him in pesos and food stamps and handshakes and jokes and Russian rubles, and I refuse to get this brother some U.S. currency. I refuse.
Hard out here.
It's hard out here. We can't say what we want. All right. Let me see. Spencer Brown. Thank you, John. I appreciate you and your message. Thank you. June Joseph. I love it. Harris Logistics. Think big. Yolanda. Didn't have time to watch the entirety, but I shall return on a mission for the civil rights movement. Okay, thank you, Yolanda. Is a bad sister. Derek, preach. You are. Let me see here if I can find a question. Fall forward, don't get up. That's Denise Colbert. June Joseph, persistence. Spencer, let's go, John. Exactly. LaShawn, keep doing it. Scared of failure and don't know how to accomplish it. Patrick Gabriel says, relentless. A.R. Harris Logistics. Okay, so I'm gonna answer most of these questions offline. Love you guys much. I hope you enjoyed this pop-up Sunday. I'm out. Love you much. Say goodbye, Webster. Be nice.
Peace.
Peace.